pediatrician, I observe and participate in situations that are more interesting than the most amazing stories you could read in any book. Let me think of which story I should tell first. I wanted to start my first story, but the moment I wanted to tell it, another more interesting and persuasive story would come to mind. Meanwhile, the light in the hall dimmed. It was time for the last session of the seminar to start. "I'm sorry," I said. "We don't have time for me to tell my stories. Later, if you want, I can talk with you." "What a pity. I'm leaving in 2 hours," Sarah answered. "But I have an idea. Why don't you write 1 or 2 stories and send them to me? Here's my address." I promised not to forget Sarah's request, and once I returned home I started to write my first story for her, then another one, and another, until I realized that these stories should be compiled in a book. This is not a book of advice and how-to. These topics have already been well covered by such authors as Drs. Benjamin Spock and Michael Rothenberg, T. Berry Brazelton, and Burton Schmidt. This book is about the life of a pediatrician and his patients, about their joy and pain, their ups and downs. One of the many benefits of being a pediatrician is having the opportunity to observe people as they really are in the flesh and blood, not through the prism of the double-blind studies of medical research, where the human soul is removed from the results during the process of the investigation, and the human being is reduced to columns of digits. Instead of this abstract generalization of a person, primary physicians see their patients in their wholeness. The primary care physician, a pediatrician, who has contact with patients and their families for a substantial period of time, has the chance to discover in each of these people the shining beauty of good decisions and kind actions of which every person is potentially capable. Without this chance to see the best in human beings, it would be impossible for me or any other physician to stay optimistic and positive about life. Sometimes you have to see the best if you are also going to have to see the worst in people. Without this optimism, how could anyone function after a patient becomes victim to one of the many heartbreaking tragedies of our fragile human existence? The testimonies of devotional love, indeed the imitation of God, that the majority of parents demonstrate toward their children, are this force that gives me the ability and the desire to continue my work after one of my innocent little patients becomes prey to death or an incurable disease. Dealing with a child not only as a patient, but also as a person, helps a pediatrician become a part of the flowing river of life, life with its constant stories, the content and complexity of which are many times more fantastical and unreal than the most sophisticated science fiction novel. The setting for these stories is the pediatric office, the hospital, and the doctor's home, and the actors are the doctor and the children and the adults, who grant this doctor the privilege of practicing the best occupation existing to my knowledge, pediatric medicine. Chapter 1. The Joy of Pediatrics. I believe that individuals are predestined for certain life events. The way I became a pediatrician may have looked like a sheer accident, but this is another story. This accident, however, suited me like the design from above that I believe it was. On looking back over my long and still ongoing pediatric career that I began in 1964, I discover that I am happy to be a pediatrician. I consider this profession one of the most meaningful I could have entered. Not many professions offer such a wonderful opportunity to observe a human being who is growing, developing, and changing from visit to visit. Though I know all of the drawbacks to my profession, they do not diminish my belief that the many years I have spent working as a pediatrician not only have been spent in the pursuit of a livelihood, but have also allowed me to change things in this world for the better. It is one thing to theorize about helping people.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.